wanted to really do is to, rather than go through the psukim, is just a couple of reflections on the Akedah, because the Akedah really is the most powerful thing that we have in our canon, in a way, because it reflects so much on what we expected from us as Am Yisrael to achieve, and who we are and what we are. So what I wanted to look at is, firstly, just what always strikes me about the Akedah is that if you look, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Moshe, to Abraham, he says to him, Kach et bincha et yechidcha asher ahavta. He goes through a process. He doesn't just throw it in and say, take Yitzchak. He never actually mentions his name. And it's similar in a way to, I'm not really sure what to do with this. This is something. It's similar in a way to the lech lecha me'artzecha mi'moladecha mi'beit avicha. It seems to be that there's something that when we speak to whoever we need to speak to, that Hashem is trying to teach us a lesson. And I think He's trying to teach us in a way that what we have to do is that we need to sometimes not be so direct in when there's something that we're asking somebody to do, which is something such a huge thing or a big favor. So maybe but in a way, favor is the wrong word. But to do something that is going to be remarkable, it's not always that you just throw it in, but rather there has to be a process of understanding of where they have to achieve. So what happens is, and I was discussing it with somebody yesterday, Kodesh Baruch Hu tells Abraham to take his son, and the Torah doesn't describe, expound on, or in any way engage with the emotional space that Abraham may be in. Can you imagine, God forbid, a person is asked to do something so terrible with their child? You'd think that the Torah would say something, but instead of saying something about the emotional state of Avraham Avinu, it really goes into the practical state of Avraham Avinu. What he does is he doesn't engage with it. It seems to be on the emotional level. Vayashkem Avraham baboker. He wakes up early in the morning, and immediately he gets going with the job at hand. And perhaps one can say that what we're really seeing is the greatness of the Jew who is able, in a way, to overcome their emotional state, and in order to achieve a much greater spiritual end. We know that there are stories in the Gemara. Rabbi Meir's two sons, for example, pass away on Shabbos, and his wife never tells him. She only tells him after Shabbos exactly what happened. And why is that? And it's because there is a certain ability for the great people to tap into a higher spiritual plane and not get so caught up in their emotions. And that seems to be what Avraham Avinu has done. He is so committed to serving Hashem in the right way that he's able to overcome that aspect of the pain, the hurt, the concern that he's going to have. Excuse me. The Torah describes how Avraham Avinu he takes not only Yitzchak, he takes the wood, and he takes his ma'achelet, he takes his knife, and he takes some fire, and he takes these two lads, these two servants, whoever they are, with him. The Rashi tells us that is Yishmael and Eliezer. And so now he's got what is effectively the closest people around him, of his whole family. He's got those closest people that he's now going to take with him on this unbelievable journey that they're going to go. He doesn't know where he's going to. He knows that he's going to go to a place, and in that place he's going to have to bring his child up as a korban, and he takes with him the two other people that really are or would have been possibly the people who would have carried on the legacy of Avraham Avinu. So Eliezer, we know, is his servant, who really, when he starts looking for a wife for Yitzchak, wants to propose that his daughter should be that. That's the way the Midrashim explain it. Yishmael is the son. He's this other son who's not the primary, let's call it inverted commas, the primary son of Avraham, but Avraham still wants him to learn the lesson of self-sacrifice, and so he takes them both with him. But as they get closer to the place where they're going to, so there are different ways in which we describe it. But it's one of my teachers, Menachem Schrader, described like the journey. They're going on. What are they talking about? They go for 3 days, this long journey, which its end is a very difficult end, especially for Avraham. What do they talk about? That's not clear. But they eventually get to a place where it says that vayeirah makom merachok. Avraham Avinu sees this place from afar, and what does he see? He sees the way the Midrashim describe it. He sees that there are clouds that are moving in the wind, and there's one cloud that's standing above. So standing still above the Har Moriah, and that's clearly to Avraham Avinu is a sign that is the place where he needs to bring Yitzchak. And he turns around and he says, "Guys, can you see it?" And they can't see it. And therefore, Avraham Avinu says, "Okay, if that's the case, it's clear that whilst the legacy of the chesed of Avraham, whilst the legacy of the kindness, the legacy of the humanitarian that is Avraham, can go through also the Eliezer and also the Yishmael, the legacy of the great spirituality cannot go through. It can only go through Yitzchak, who also is able to see what Avraham can see." And that's why it says that it says to them, "Shvu ima chamor." You guys stay here with the chamor. What's the chamor? Chamor is spirituality. It's materialism. The chomri. You stay here with the chomri. You take my lessons that I, Avraham Avinu, have taught you, and you take those and put them into the world of the chomri, of the physical world. Whenever you see, and it's an amazing thing how we once, I remember as a about 19, 20-year-old, I can't remember exactly the age, but we went to a Bedouin tent in Israel. They have these Bedouin tents, and the idea was to see the achnasas orchim of the Bedouins, and it's incredible, and they are so huge in the achnasas orchim to make sure you have everything that you want, and that's part of Shvu lachem im chamor. You stay here with the chamor because you will teach the world how to express the chesed through the chomri, through the spiritual. But a few years ago, I went to Israel, and there used to be a meshulach, Rabbi Goldberg, who used to come to Cape Town. So I went to Israel, and I wanted to go and meet his Rebbe, the Koichem Yaakov. That's some very great sages. So I wanted to go and meet them and get a bracha from them. And so we agreed on the time that we were going to meet. And I arrived at the base midrash to meet him, and we schmoozing and everything. And much earlier than expected, the Rebbes were able to come and see me. And I got the brachas that I wanted, which was in itself a story and an experience that we can discuss. But then he said to me, "Well, it's still early. Why don't you come to my house and have something to eat?" So I thought, that's very sweet. Okay, so I'll go there. So I went there, and what was unbelievable is the incredible achnasas orchim. And he wouldn't let me do a thing. He wouldn't let me help. Wouldn't do anything. And when I said to him, "But please let me help," he said to me, and it struck me so powerfully. He said to me, "You can't take away my mitzvah." So it wasn't about doing good. It was about a mitzvah. What is a mitzvah? The mitzvah is part of a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not just simply doing the right thing or the nice thing for another person, but it's the connection. And that's the difference between what Avraham Avinu sees in Yitzchak and what he sees in Ishmael and he sees in Eliezer. They'll take the practical, but then there's something much higher than that. And where it manifests itself most profoundly is when Yitzchak says to Avram that he says to him, he says, "You've got the machelet and you've got the aish and you've got everything you need. Where's the say? Where's this thing that it needs to be brought up? Whatever the animal is that you would bring up as a korban, because who goes to bring a korban without an animal?" And Avram says that Hashem Yirena, Hashem will show us the thing. And it seems to be at that point in time that Yitzchak understands that he is the say. Yitzchak understands that he is the one who is going to be that ultimate korban. And what does korban mean? So the Shem Yishmul, it says a very powerful thing. The Shem Yishmul, we say that korban means to come close. But he says, the Shem Yishmul says to come close to Hashem. He says, no, korban means lakriv El HaKadusha. It's more than just to come close to Hashem. It's to come to the Kedusha of Hashem, to the unbelievably powerful spirituality, sanctity of the Ribbon Shalom. And that's really what Kedusha really is. And so Avraham Avinu says to Yitzchak, Hashem will show us how, the best way that we can come close. Yitzchak understands that he is the one who's going to be that demonstration, let's call it. And then the Torah says, Vayelchu shnehem yachdav. That father and son, hand in hand, maybe not physically, but at least emotionally, at least spiritually, at least with a common goal. Vayelchu shnehem yachdav. They go up together. They walk together with common purpose. And isn't that the greatest dream of every parent? To be able to want their child to follow in the way that they believe is the correct way. And this is where it manifests itself most profoundly. And as we know, the Midrash tells us, when they got there, that Yitzchak did not put up a fight at all. And according to the Midrash, he was 40 years old. So he could have, his father's an old man. It would have been easy for him to go in. But he understood that the legacy of the Jewish people, the legacy of Am Yisrael, wherever that would be, where he thought it would be from him, the real legacy would come out of this action that he is there, putting himself there. Rav Soloveitchik explains, why do we read this on Rosh Hashanah? It doesn't really have anything to do with Rosh Hashanah. We understand that when it speaks about, on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, when we speak about the fact that Hashem remembered Sarah, Hashem that Hashem remembered, so then we understand that the Gemara says, we looked at a couple of days ago in Daf Yomi, that Hashem remembered Sarah, and that was on Rosh Hashanah. But why is the lesson of the Akedah on Rosh Hashanah? And the answer for that is so powerful and so important, is that we often think that Rosh Hashanah is about a new beginning, but it's not only about a new beginning. Rosh Hashanah is about a beginning because there's a goal in mind, and that goal is ultimately to connect with the Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Rosh Hashanah gives us, at that new start, the ability to do that, because it's a decision that we make. And that's why we even learn the lesson of Ishmael on Rosh Hashanah. That it says that by Ishmael, it says that Hashem saw Ba'asher Husham, where he was at that point in time. And I saw a beautiful thing actually this morning, which is Ba'asher Husham doesn't mean where he is as a result of where he comes from, or where he is as a consequence of the choice of where he's going, but where he is there and then at the specific point in time. Yitzchak at the Akedah was not the son of Avraham Avinu who had been taught all these lessons. He was Yitzchak who had made a decision to go together with his father, in common purpose to achieve the Kedusha and the connection to the Kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whatever that was. And that really is one of the great lessons of the Akedah. And it's because of that, they say, because Yitzchak was prepared to do that, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the angel comes down, Hashem sends the angel, and the angel stops Abraham and says, no, don't do that. Don't do it. And we know that there's this deep tension. You can see it in the top of the Torah. There's this deep tension of Abraham Avinu saying, no, but I want to do it. That's what I'm supposed to do. And he says to him, no, don't do it. Look there. Remember you said Hashem would show the Selo Allah. Hashem would show what really needs to be brought up. Well, there it is in the bushes. There's this ayal. There's this, now that's what's an ayal. We should call it a ram or not a ram. Is it a mountain goat? Whatever it is, Hashem says, that is where. You don't have to sacrifice your children. You don't have to bring your children up as a korban. You have to take them together with you into places of self-sacrifice. And it is there that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will show you what the real sacrifice needs to be. And perhaps that's the great lesson that we can take from this parsha, is taking our children, our children, our grandchildren, our spouses, and our community. We walk together in common purpose. Have a beautiful Shabbos, everybody, and Bezrat Hashem will continue on Monday. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.